Today's focus, we're going to be looking at the World Bank projection on subsidy removal. As the World Bank, they've actually told FG, the federal government, that they will save up to 11 trillion naira from subsidy removal and poor Nigerians to lose 5,000 naira monthly. The World Bank says Nigeria's government will save a total of 11 trillion from the recent petrol subsidy removal policy. However, the financial body said more people will be pushed into poverty in Nigeria if the government does not provide palliatives to alleviate the effect of the recently implemented reforms. So many reforms have been going on from the decks of the presidency, and it also said the latest report coming to Nigerian Development Update released on Tuesday, the Bretton Woods institution said over 4 million people were pushed into poverty between January and May 2023. The bank, in the report titled Seizing the Opportunity, said it was important for Nigeria to implement a comprehensive reform package that will encompass a range of complementary measures, including a new social compact to protect the poor and most vulnerable, to maximize the collective impact on growth, job creation and poverty reduction. Since the assumption of the new administration, critical fiscal reforms have been initiated to address so many imbalances. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's just quickly take you straight into our discussion. It's the world of business. I'm talking business this week on your number one darling station. Subsidy removal, first World Bank projection. I have with me in the studio pharmacies, Rabo Benjamin. He's an economic expert, and today he'll be joining us on the show. Thank you for coming, Pharmacy.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes, that's good to have you, pharmacist Rabo. And of course, from my extreme left is Adodo Israel Esquire. He's a legal practitioner and the resident pastor of his Alive Parish, Rock of Ages Christian Assembly here in Benin City, local branch. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now the World Bank believes that this could be a window of opportunity. Talking about the subsidy removal, it's going to be a window of opportunity that could transform impact of lives of Nigerians and establish a solid foundation for a sustainable and inclusive growth. Now, I would like you to walk us through, Israel Adodo Esquire. Walk us through, looking at the subsidy removal and the projection. What are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, I'm not surprised this is coming from World Bank, because like a town crier, they have always been on it, that if Nigeria must meaningfully progress and move forward, that it was expedient that the regime of fuel subsidy is removed. And if you are somebody who is economically inclined, if you understand the basis of economics, you will see reasons with them. Because the truth remains that Nigeria as a nation, if we keep investing in the subsidy regime, because of the kind of society we are into, it will be very difficult to move forward economically as a nation. As we speak, Nigeria domestic debt alone is up to 80 trillion naira. Absolutely. That's not something to joke about.
That's very huge.
Yes, that's huge. So to come out of this, we have to exhaust all our options. The truth remains, and we must all agree that it's going to be painful. It's a painful decision. It's a painful decision. And I also tell you, for you to build anything, it gets to a point you have to destroy it totally. And I think that's where we are now. The system is almost collapsing. The cost of living is on the increase. Everybody is complaining. But I tell you the truth, that if the government will really do what is expected of them, by reinvesting the whatever comes out of this or the proceed, that is going to be a game changer.
Okay, talking about it's going to be a game changer. Recently, the federal government they are going to receive a loan of $500 million again. And according to them, this money will be channeled towards empowering women. If we are servicing a huge debt currently, and it's enormous, and something that has been, it's like a backload or like a transfer from one government to another. Tinubu just got on board, the President and Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces, and $500 million loan has been released into the government. And looking at the debt we are servicing and the loans we are collecting and subsidy removal, how do we strike a balance, Rabbi Benjamin?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, you don't borrow loan to do charity as a business person. And it is our time our government start thinking as an entrepreneur. You see, we used to say that it is not government business to do business, but I believe those are old adage. We need to change our thinking. Just imagine you're taking a loan, $500 million. You want to use it to do charity. That's what I call it. It's charity.
To empower women.
You see, what they need to do, such a money should be reinvested into the economy.
Yes.
Because once the economy starts kicking, you are able to pay back your loan. It's like a woman who go to a microfinance to take loan. You go and take loan of 100,000 to go and buy a shwebi to do burial. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. If you're taking a loan, it should be ingested into the economy. Inject it into it and see the outcome. Nigeria has been relying solely on oil and gas. And we have vast land. Agriculture is lying fallow. Nothing is being done. A lot needs to come into it once we start producing. Because Nigerian economy is a consuming economy. And no nation can survive in consuming. You are just consuming. You're not producing. So when such money...
So we need to move from consumption to production.
To production. If such money is being... You borrow such money, you should invest it. Invest it into different key sectors of the economy, like agriculture. Invest into it. The other infrastructure that, like electricity, we have been suffering this for many years. I was thinking that Tinubu should come up with a beautiful master plan that, look, in the next 2 years, the problem of epileptic power supply will be done away with. And is it possible? Yes, it's possible. And a lot of billions of naira have been invested into electricity. Nothing has come out of it. Why? Because the money has been mismanaged, corruption. You see, corruption is eating into the very fabric of our society.
Okay.
And is making things not to work.
I would like us to trash this $500 million loan once and for all so that we can focus on our talking point. To you, do you think it's a misplacement of priority?
It's totally misplaced. Now, in business or in economics, there are two ways to have a balanced financial life. You are either going to increase your income or you reduce your expense. Now, we are complaining that the country is economically down. And instead of looking for ways to increase what we receive, not by borrowing, like my friend said, it's by production. What can we give from which we can recoup enough money to buy our way out of this indebtedness we found ourselves? It's not to keep, it's like somebody who is owing and you are borrowing to pay another debt. I'm owing here, then I'm borrowing to pay. What I'm doing is I'm entangling myself, I'm encumbering myself the more. So it's not a way out. We have seen them done it over and over again. And most times, nothing is done about it. At a point, last year or so, money were borrowed, and it was believed that the money was shared to poor people. It's not, and you can't help a poor person by giving the person money. Not to talk of giving money to the tune of 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira. These days, that cannot even sustain a single man, let alone someone with a family. You can't sustain. No, for a day. It can't sustain you. If you are going to be someone that we have to move around, someone to have to get home to feed, and none of those is 5,000 naira. And most times we also know that this money does not really go to the poor. The money is along the way. The money is even I don't know what to. I'm trying to be careful. The money is missing somewhere at the end. So the truth remains that borrowing at this point is insensitive.
Okay.
It's insensitive.
So, Rabbi Benjamin, according to the report, there will be massive inflation in the coming months, but it actually says that there will be disinflation in the medium term. How possible will this affect our economy?
In fact, we're already seeing the effect of the inflation. Now, the most painful thing for me is that Why is it that it is we that have to give our blood to them?
I don't understand.
I will explain.
You need to explain.
Must it be we that will pay for their incompetence?
When you say we now, we who?
Very good. I believe you took transportation to get here. True of us.
I did.
The last time I checked, the price of fuel was about 2 something. But now, how much is it? I think it's about 7 something now. Who is going to pay for this increase? Have you thought about it? Is the common average Nigerians in the street? We are paying with our blood for this. This is an error that has been done for decades by our government. Corruption, mismanagement over the years. Now it has gotten to the point that they know it's unsustainable. What do they now do? They want to push it back to the masses. They want to push it back to you and I. Because for the fact that you are entering transport and you are paying higher compared to what it was before, you are paying the price for it. We are all paying the price for it.
Are they not being affected?
Well, you know.
Everyone is crying.
The government, those who are into government, elected positions, you know they don't pay for these things. Are you aware? They have allowances
they use
for
taxpayers' money to take care of their...
take care of themselves.
Okay.
What about we? Are we not the same citizen like them? How come it must be we that must pay for their error, for their own incompetence? We elected them to be there, to serve us, to make things better for us. But it must be we. It is our own blood that must drop for them. So it's so painful that at this point in time, I'm hearing they are taking $500 million. That is huge money. It's not bad to borrow. In fact, the rich become rich by taking other people's money. Now, if you take such a money, it must be utilized properly.
Yes, it's still business this week, reaching you live from the Benin Network Center of RTV. And I'm Daniel Praise Osendebame. Subsidy removal World Bank projection. But we're also told that the removal of the petrol subsidy and foreign exchange management reforms are crucial measures to begin to rebuild fiscal space and restore macroeconomic stability. And the opportunity should be seized to take further necessary policy reform steps. That's one of the parts the report reads. Now, let's come to you, Adodo Israel. We were with you. Did you wrap up what you were trying to say before we went to break?
Yes.
Sure. So let's come to Adodo Israel Esquire now. We just saw on the headlines that the federal government were able to save $400 billion naira within 4 weeks. And take us through, which other aspect will this policy affect? Aspect of the economy. Will it affect the educational sector? Is it going to boost our agricultural sector?
You see, the removal of fuel subsidy will bring a lot of opportunity, and I will explain. Now, before now, one of the reasons why we've not had the locals or even the international big players in the oil industry coming to Nigeria to set up refinery is because of the fuel subsidy issue. This is so because, for instance, if you are a refinery owner in Nigeria, for instance, in the fuel subsidy era, and you refine fuel, you are not permitted to sell it at your market price. You sell at a subsidized price. So because of that, these business persons were being careful. Because you can't expect me, for instance, to set up a refinery after doing everything, the product is finally out, and you want me to subsidize when the money was used privately. So that's why even most persons that got license, Dangote was not the first, and it's not the only person that has a license to run a refinery in Nigeria. But I think he looked into the projection, he saw what was coming, and he knew that the era of subsidy was gradually going to fade away. So he took advantage of it, and that's business, recognizing opportunities, and that's what he has done. So the point remains that the days ahead, for anyone who is business inclined, if you can project into the future, there are a lot of opportunity. It's going to, okay, what has happened with the subsidy removal era is going to be similar to what has happened in the era of telecommunication. The same thing in the era of banking. There was a time banks were nearly the business of government. There was a time, the same thing with telecommunication. But after it was deregulated, independent persons came in. Persons were employed. So it will create a market. It will create a market that will get people employed and all of those things. So for a business person and for those that are business inclined, I think the days ahead are going to be very good. But our fear still remains what happened to the money that will be recouped. That has remained a fear because the procedure with which it was done, though the era of Goodluck Jonathan was not embraced when he tried removing subsidy, but we can give it to him for doing something. That was the introduction of SUBSIDY, the subsidy reinvestment and empowerment program. The idea was to come out transparent that this era of we removing subsidy, this is what the people stand to gain. This is how the money will be reinvested. This is how the, you understand? But this, what we are seeing and nothing like that is done. So we don't know what will happen to the money. But I think those are areas that the government should address.
Can I take us through this projection? What areas will it affect from your own point?
Okay. It's very interesting to know that I actually listened to what the director of the World Bank of Nigeria said. Mr. Sobham, he said that this fuel subsidy removal would help Nigeria to be able to have a fiscal gain of about 3.9 trillion. That is huge. You see, it is one thing to have this excess fund. It's another thing to be able to use it well. We don't want a situation whereby it will be as business as usual, whereby they'll begin to share this money within themselves. If really this money, this excess gain that is coming, this fiscal gain that is coming in, is reinvested into our economy, to go a long way to boost a lot of things, a lot. But the fear I'm having is that right from time immemorial, our government has never been honest with us. We know that. There's so many good policy will come up, eventually nothing will come out of it. But if it's really done, it will touch every facet. If I may suggest, if it's possible for Tinubu administration, if it can focus a little on power, use these excess funds that are coming in, channel some of them into power. I bet you a lot of foreign investors will come in. So
insincerity is part of the problem that we're going to face.
If they can channel it into power, a lot of foreign investors will come in with a lot. Now, I like the fact that they've removed the ban on foreign items coming in, the immigration issues and all of that. So people can bring in things, right? And that will also contribute. So I'm really saying that he is moving in the right direction. But I just hope that he's going to sustain it. And I also hope that he's not doing all of this because of the fact that he knows that he's still standing on one leg because of the tribunal issue, the court issue. But we just hope that he's honest. He really wants to do his best. And if that is the case, these excess funds that are coming that we are saving, 11 trillion, about 4 billion saved within 4 weeks, we just pray they use it for what it's supposed to.
So I'm saying after the judiciary conclude their process, we might see a kind of turn up in event.
You know, our politicians, they are always of two faces. Let's be sincere. Okay. So we don't really know what his intention will be after that. So, but for now, what I'm seeing, the handwriting on the wall is good. So we should expect something good. Let's come to Adodo Esquire. An average Nigeria will lose up to 5,700 monthly from their earnings, from their hard earnings, from this projection that everybody's going to sacrifice. Do you think is what we need at this point in time? Let's be honest.
I don't know how they came about losing 5,000 monthly, but I know they have done their job. But if you say 5,000 monthly, I'm questioning because in a month, 5,000 from all of this.
You are going to lose from
we are losing far higher than
that.
Yes, that's my point. 5,000 monthly. Are you saying weekly or even at times day? I know when you buy fuel at times. Okay, before now, I spend 5,000 to fuel my car in a week.
Full tank?
Yes, not full tank. It can take me for 1 week to my office and home. But since this fuel increment, I use 15,000.
Okay, that's where
I'm already losing 10,000 in a week. You understand? So when they say, I don't know how they do it, but it's okay, they are doing their job. So the truth remains, back to your question, that sacrifices is what we must pay.
But is it what we really need at this point?
It is.
Inflation is hitting us very hard.
Like I said when I started, sacrifices must be made. But like my brother also said, you don't tell the people to make sacrifice and you are reaping the benefit of the sacrifice they are making. Why even you yourself, you are not making the sacrifice? Like the man Peter Obi said, he said, if you are going to start sacrifice, it should start from leadership. The leaders, how come for instance, I have children, and I come and I'll say, well, the cost of living is not very high. What will happen in this house is that we'll reduce the way we eat. We'll start eating twice a day. All the children say, oh, daddy, no problem. We'll bear it and we are with you. And the next day, I'm eating 4 times in that same house, and they are looking at me. It doesn't tell well. Because most of that's what they are. Why you want to start making sacrifice? Cut down a lot of things. We are trying to gather. Why not cut down the cost of governance? That's where we should start from. We have to make sacrifice. And furthermore, let me also tell you that I've heard people talk about palliative. And when they talk about palliative, they limit it to giving people money and reducing cost of transport. Thank the governor of Edo State for what he's doing. He has reduced the number of times people report. Oh, wonderful. I think there are also plans on ground to ensure that the government have vehicle that will pick staff from the closest bus stop. Very wonderful. I also think that above that, there are more the federal government can do. I think the federal government should leave those issues of palliative that are not too serious to the state government to handle. They're on their own. There are other ways the federal government can give palliative that we really tell on the life of the citizen.
When you say serious palliative, what kind of palliatives are you
very good. Let power becomes, if possible, constant. Let's improve power. Because when you look at it, it becomes difficult to survive on fuel. When you are using fuel in your cars, using fuel in your generator, small businesses are packing off. If you are a barber, for instance, you depend on light to cut hair. You are a hairdresser, you depend on light. But at the end of the day, there's no light. There's somebody to cut hair. Now, I've noticed at times, my barber, you spend as much as 1 hour to cut my hair. Imagine the fuel that runs. Obviously, it's going to tell on such businesses. Is that they are going to have to increase their prices or they will lock their shop. So why not make power? Make investment in power. Okay, if you don't want to do that, let me open your eye to another way we can improve power.
Open my eyes.
Yes, outside electricity. Now we are exploring other ways of getting power, and solar is at the forefront. Solar is at the forefront. Since I started using solar for the past 1 year, I can tell you, I think for the past 2 years, since I started using solar, not 1 year, 2 years, I have put on my generator like twice.
Wow, for the past 2 years?
Yes, which means that has reduced the cost of me fueling my generator. Now,
how do you not deal with the batteries and all that?
The kind of solar I use is not the kind of the battery are different.
Spiritual.
No, you invest heavily in the battery for it to survive. But look at it. Why not make solar material get to a point where at the point of importing them to Nigeria, instead there will be zero fee on the clearance. So at the cost of, because I have a friend who bought solar panel 15,000 naira a time ago. The next time I was buying, I think it's now around 50 something, 80 something.
Wow.
Yes, the thing is skyrocketing. So that is also discouraging those that want to exploit other means of getting power. If you cannot make power stable, you can allow the market make other materials with which people can get power easy. So why not make, at the point of clearing those solar materials, make it cheap?
Okay. Cutting down cost of governance was part of what he said. Let's take it up from there. Do you think the government, or those in government, those in authority, they are ready to make sacrifices?
Far from it. In fact, they are looking for ways to take the little you have. I'm telling you. Because the last time I checked, many of them don't buy fuel. Many of them have allowances, accommodation allowances that they are enjoying that runs in tune of millions.
That's just a handful of them. They are not.
Now, the government in itself, they are very extravagant in their spending. So like he said, if they want us to make sacrifice, they should start it. What I'm waiting for, that I want Tinubu to do, our president, he should reduce the salary allowances. They should reduce the allowances. If they can make their salary or other side money they are getting in a legal way, they get a lot of side money in legal ways. If they can cut those things off. Now, we are talking about having the right person there. Do you know why people are always, they want to even die to be there? Because they've monetized politics. If they can make politics unattractive, monetarily, remove those, a lot of incentives that are there, that runs in millions. Why would people not want to die to be there? If they make it, look, if you're coming, you want to serve, just know you want to serve. Your salary is just a little bit higher than the civil servant.
A little bit above that of civil
If they can do it like that, you will see most of those ones who are there for the money, they will move back. They will start thinking of ways to really generate income. Rather than looking at politics as a business. Politics is not supposed to be a business. It's service, call to duty. If you are going there as an elected person, you'll be called to duty. You shouldn't be thinking of the profit, the interest you are going to gain from there. Once that is done, you see a lot of things will start falling in place. That's when you see the real people who want to work, who are ready to even die for their country. They will come out.
Okay. Now, in the first part of 2023, Nigeria's economic growth weakened and real gross domestic product, that's the GDP growth, fell from 3.3% in 2022 to 2.4% year on year. And of course, the challenging global economic context has just put pressure on Nigeria's economy. However, domestic policies play a major role in determining Nigeria's economic performance and resilience. To further extend external shocks, the previous mix of fiscal, monetary, and exchange rate policies, including the Naira redesign program, did not deliver the desired improvement in growth, inflation, and economic resilience. Do you think the Naira redesign was one of the issues we had as a nation?
The Naira redesign policy was a disaster.
You think so?
Yes, it was not just an issue, it was a disaster. To start with, the essence of the policy was not spelled out from the beginning. It was not known. There were speculations that it was for election purpose, to stop bribing, to do all of those things. So nobody was sure. And because of the way the idea was pushed, it affected businesses. A lot of persons could not feed. You go out for business, you can't sell. Because to make things worse, there was no cash to pay with. Transfer could not. There is no way a GPD of a country, it will always go down. So the Naira policy did not help at all. And I totally agree with the World Bank. Yeah,
because Rabo Benjamin, some persons were of the opinion that if they hadn't ventured into the Naira redesign policy, first subsidy from the beginning of Tinubu's administration would have been removed. They would have been able to save enough money to carry his administration for the first quarter before they will now start thinking of subsidy removal. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, yes. Like you said, the Naira redesign policy was a total fiasco. Because Emefiele, as we speak now, is in custody, right? We know a lot of things that is happening that we cannot see on here. Because, you see, the corruption into the Nigeria society is so endemic. Is killing the country. I want to say this, if something is not done quickly. Now, the World Bank projected that as of the beginning of this year, about 89.3 million Nigerians were in abject poverty.
They were pushed into poverty.
Now, it now increased from January to May with 4 million. And they're saying that before this year runs out, about 100.9 million Nigerians will be in poverty. Now, I want to ask you, how many Nigerians do we have in this country? That more than half of it is already in poverty. So that is to tell you how things have gotten worse. And if things is not done quickly, I must say that Nigeria as a nation is in a point that, you see, Nigerians are no more ready for those old stories. We can't take it anymore. The average Nigerian in the street are hungry, they are hungry, a lot of pain. So if Tinubu does not get things right in the next 2 years from now, there will be a lot of problems.
Okay, Adodo Esquire, in the past, you are either poor or you are rich. But recently, we now have the poorest of the poor and those that are trying to make it and the rich. So now, how do we now manage this projection, the 3.3 trillion naira that will be saved from the World Bank projection? How do you think the government can manage this fund so that we can start bringing people out of poverty?
I listened to the former Minister of State for Petroleum, Deputy Silva, and he was speaking that one of the reasons it was necessary to remove the fuel subsidy was because the total budget for fuel subsidy for a year was far higher than the budget for health, education, and
defense.
And defense.
Wow.
And defense. So you see, these 3 areas are very critical. So now that we have removed subsidy, it is expected that this money will be reinvested in such areas. Insecurity has become something else. And we have seen most of our brothers in the war front crying out that the weapons that the militants, the SME are holding are more sophisticated. So you reinvest in arms. Education is going down. You reinvest. Instead of increasing school fees, we learned that even that of federal university is going up. And before now, it was believed that the only way the government could help the poor was by the subsidized school fees in the institution of learning. But these days, it's going up, which means to even send your children to school now is difficult. So let's reinvest it in education. What about health? People die daily because they can't access our health facility. People are dying. So why not make the health insurance becomes something that an individual, a citizen becomes qualified for? You know, these days, for you to be qualified, now you are working with a corporate organization or a government organization. No. Every citizen that carries a Nigeria identity card should be qualified for the health insurance. So that, I think the first time I used the health insurance was sometime last year. Wow. When I saw the money I paid, I've been having kids. I know what I'll be paying. For the first time, with the way the money splashed, I paid the money from the back of my pocket. Just dip my hand and... So the benefits are numerous. So let's see how we can give this thing back to the people. Like I said, let's invest in life.
So health insurance should not be restricted to government.
It should not be restricted to people who work in corporate organization or God. Let's be give it to every Nigerian born citizen. They should be qualified for health insurance. If I have toothache, I should be able to walk into an hospital and I'm attended to. Not until I'm dying and I will not start raising money.
Okay, now let's quickly look at some of this money that will be saved. Should we use it to quickly start servicing some of this debt that we have on ground, or it should be invested into our economy properly?
Well, servicing debt,
so that will not come and be crying for pardon.
Yes. It should not be used to service debt yet. Such a money should be, you should sow a seed. Use that money to sow seed. Like in the religious settings, they tell you sow a seed. So what that means is that invest such a money so that it will come back in 100 folds. Now, how do you invest such a money? Now, invest such a money into power, one. Invest into agriculture. Now, invest into importation. Yeah. Make it so easy that the duty, the charges they pay are reduced. These are ways you can invest into it. So that things will start coming into the economy and the prices of these things. Now, the price index ratio is going up every day. Yeah. Like I bought a product about 2 weeks ago. I went yesterday. The product increased with about 80%. Wow. 80%. Something that was about 450 was now about 1,850.
And you're buying to resell.
You can imagine that.
So how much will you now add as your profit?
It baffles me. I say, what? So you can see how inflation is into the economy.
Just 2 days interval.
Within 2 days. I bought it 2 weeks ago. I want to buy it again. It has gone up to 1,850. So how do we do this? Inflation is eating into the very economy we are trying to salvage. And the funny thing is that the government are still very much extravagant in their spending. Now we've been able, the first subsidy now have been able to help us to save about 11 trillion naira. this can go a long way to revamp the economy if it's well used. Because by 2025, such savings would increase to about 22 trillion. We talked about it this morning. It will increase to about 20. What are we going to do with this money? Are they going to share it within themselves? Or they should put it back into the economy to make life easy for Nigerians?
Let's quickly, we need to start wrapping things up now. But let's come to Adodo Esquire. There's a projection from the oil marketers that next month we may be getting fuel products for as high as 700 naira. Depends on your geopolitical zone where you find yourself. Now, how are we going to start managing ourselves to fit into these projections from the oil marketers? Those living in Lagos may be buying it for as high as 700 or thereabouts. How do we start striking a balance?
You see, those oil marketers, they are part of the problems we have in this country.
How?
Yes, because now they are saying the price is going to go up because what they bought at the subsidized amount, they have exhausted. These are the points where they have to start buying from the company without subsidy. It's clear that even they are not very honest. They are not sincere and honest. Why didn't they wait till now, the end of June, where the one they bought at subsidized price would have before they start? So I think we will adapt. That's one thing about Nigerians. We will adapt. It's painful, but like I studied the consequences of subsidy removal in Ghana. It was almost similar. But it got to a point, everything will rebalance. It will take time a bit. You see, all of these inflation we are going to see, they are temporary. They are always like this at the initial stage. But with time, by the time we start having market competition, we have persons who are now producing. By the grace of God, and Dangote refinery will start refining various. All of those things will affect the market price, and it's going to come back. But this is a business program, and we have to say this. We are all crying about fuel subsidy issue now. It means it is a problem.
Okay.
Every problem is a business opportunity. Anyone in business now should sit down and start looking, start thinking, where is the economy going to? This is a time to be smart. This is a time to put on your intuition, to start thinking. If you are the one, type that prayer, start asking God for revelation. Even God is interested in business. Start thinking, what can I do? Because if you want to stay within the box in this economy, you are going to crash. The way it is, everyone wants to start thinking outside the box. How can I increase my income? How can I do things legitimately that can better myself and my family? So it's an opportunity for everyone.
All right, Irabo Benjamin, take us through 700 naira projection from oil marketers. How are we going to go about it?
Cope with it?
Yes.
Well, I would say that it's not going to be easy. It's a tough call. And like right now, some are already paying that amount. Some are already paying it. And anytime I want to purchase the PMS, I always feel bad. I always feel bad.
You have a business center.
I always feel bad because even 5,000 naira PMS cannot do you no good. So I'm wondering how Nigerians will cope. It's not going to be easy. A lot of them, they are going to fold up. A lot of businesses will fold up.
Okay.
So like I said, the government just need to wake up and do something.
All right, the government needs to wake up
us.
and do something. This is a clear call from our guest, our pharmacist, Irabo Benjamin. He's a businessman and he's also a business expert. And of course, we had the privilege of having the resident pastor of His Alive Parish, Rock of Ages, Christian Assembly, or local branch, Adodo Esquire. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Irabo, thank you.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
see you after the show. Okay, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain for the program Business This Week. I'm Daniel Praise. Osedebame. Have yourself a beautiful weekend ahead. Bye for now.